Hey, this is Dylan with Western Wild, and today we're going to talk about Maxtrax versus budget traction boards and help you to decide which is right for you. Traction boards are a very handy piece of gear whenever you're driving in slick surfaces, so anything like snow, mud, or sand. They can be very useful for getting you out of basic recoveries, and they also help whenever you're using a winch or a snatch strap or some other means of recovery. They will make your life a little bit easier. When shopping for traction boards, you'll notice that there is a big difference in price points. On one end, you have the original Maxtrax that retail for $329. And then on the lower end, you have a whole variety of other knockoff products that can be had for as little as $80 for a pair. So with such a big difference in price, are Maxtrax really worth the price premium? We've owned both for a number of years now, and are going to talk through a few reasons for why you should or should not spend the extra money on Maxtrax. For the budget boards specifically, we're going to talk about the Maxsa Escaper Buddy traction mats. Now, a lot of the pros and cons to this model will apply to any of the other budget boards that are out on the market versus the Maxtrax. The first point to talk about is general durability. Maxtrax are tried and true, very well engineered. The plastic on these has been specifically chosen for this application to stand the test of time. A lot of the budget brands don't necessarily have the same engineering behind them. As you can see here, we've bent up some pieces of this. Chunks have come off over time, and they're generally just not going to hold up as well as the Maxtrax. And the next point to cover is tread pattern. And this is going to vary a lot from budget traction board to budget traction board. But we found that in general, the tread patterns on the budget boards are going to be better for a street tire application. They have these tiny little spikes on them that are going to connect with the smaller lugs on a street tire. Comparatively to the Maxtrax that have these nice big lugs here, if you're running any sort of all-terrain or mud terrain tire, the tread pattern on the Maxtrax is going to be superior. Now, the next point we're going to talk about is one of the features that Maxtrax plays up the most, and that is actually the type of plastic that is used in these is specifically designed so that when your tires spin on these lugs, the lugs will actually disappear before they bite into your tire. Now, I was skeptical of this at first until we had one particularly bad recovery of this truck, and it was before we had the Maxtrax. We had the Maxsas, and you can see here what happened. All of these dark pieces right here are rubber from the truck tire. In contrast, you can see one of these lugs here. This is where the tire spun on the Maxtrax, and the Maxtrax melted rather than damaged the tire. Now, another difference to cover is that most of the off-brand boards don't stack very well. Some of them will nest a little bit, but generally speaking, they're not going to fit together well. By comparison, you have the Maxtrax. These are all designed to nest together perfectly, and this is great for storage, and especially when you want to have these mounted on a vehicle permanently. It takes up less space and it's easier to manage. Now that we've covered the pros and cons, let's see how each board really works. For this test, we put the truck into two-wheel drive and intentionally got it stuck. This isolates the drive axle to make the boards do all of the work. The knockoff boards are up first. Okay, they got the job done with a little effort. Now let's take a closer look at what happened here. Initially, the tires could not find grip on the tiny knobs at the end of the boards. Tires just spin, which is really not ideal. To overcome this, I rocked the truck forward a bit and reversed with a little momentum. I found this trick to be a recovery game changer, especially with traction boards. Afterwards, we confirmed my concerns around the durability with the Maxsas. Some of the plastic apparently melted onto this rock, and other chunks of the board had broken off. We've used these boards a lot, and the abuse is starting to show. Okay, now onto the Maxtrax in a fresh patch of snow. You can see we are clearly stuck again. large knobs on the Maxtrax connected with the tire tread almost instantly, and with no tire spin. Clearly both brands can get the job done, but there's no denying that the Maxtrax did it with less drama. So with all of that said, are the Maxtrax really worth the price premium over the knockoffs? And for us, it ultimately comes down to how often you think you're going to get stuck. If you're someone who is going to just be driving gravel roads in the summertime most of the time, and you want traction boards as an insurance policy in case you happen to get stuck, then I would say go with one of the cheaper brands. You're not going to use it that often, and they'll get the job done when you need to. Now, if you're like us, you drive around in the snow a lot, and you're in situations where you know eventually you are going to get stuck at some point, I think it's definitely worth it to invest in the upgrade for the Maxtrax. Even after upgrading to the Maxtrax from the Maxsas, we still will bring all 4 of these out when we know that we're going into a low traction situation. And the reason for that is it's really nice to have one traction board per tire. We used to run with 2 of these, and I'd say during that time frame when we could only put traction boards on 1 axle, our success rate was somewhere around 50 to 75% for self-recoveries. Ever since we've added 2 more, and now we can have 1 per tire, that has allowed us to have a 100% success rate in recoveries so far. If you'd like to share your own experiences with traction boards or have questions about either of these 2 models, please leave a comment below. We're also including an affiliate link in the description to buy the Maxtrax if you want to support our channel. And as always, please be sure to like and subscribe and stay wild.